welcome back to another episode of Elevator Dialogue here on the Unkle Junior Network. We are back live again this evening, and we appreciate you for being here. But we are back live again with a star-studded cast, and I mean we got all the stars in here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we got none other than Mr. Slickback Hair himself, the other artist, Mr. Antoine Christopher. You know what I'm saying? We got Dr. Easley over there. He's just standing up there chilling. He's back with us again for the second week in a row, I think. And then we got Mr. Gamal. He hadn't been in a while, but you see he on here showing off the guns tonight, showing off the Unkle Junior shirt. You know what I'm saying? And we already been having fun with him already. He already made me laugh because he already got on Antoine about something. So we already know we're going to have a good night tonight. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we got Mr. Across the Table with Christopher McClellan, the angry man who is still learning. And I think
damn right.
And I think the still learning part is probably pretty accurate for everybody up here. And with that being said, gentlemen, how is everybody here doing tonight? How y'all doing, man? Like for real, like on the real.
I'm actually doing really well. You know, I'm happy to be here this evening, and I have been reading a new book. It's in. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can show it. I just want to share this real quick. I'm reading this new book called Mindful Self-Discipline, and it's been kind of helping me. You know, just to like I'm fasting today. It's like I have some health goals that I'm continuing to work on, and I feel good that I that the inner will is continuing to grow. So I'm happy to be with you all today in this state.
Love it.
Put the name and title of that book in the private chat.
I will do.
Thank you.
Man, I'm feeling good, man. I'm got 90 days left, right? Probably less than 90 days at this point now, but looking to close out the year strong. I wrote down some goals. I'm part of this mastermind, and we're challenging ourselves. We're trying to figure out if we can do more work in 90 days than we've done in the last 9 months, right? So I wrote everything out, got a plan for it, and just been tackling it day by day. I got a board downstairs in my office, and I just look at, hey, what I got to tackle, what I got to check off. So that momentum, it's really just helping me with confidence, and so I'm in a good space today. Can't complain.
How do you go back and look over 9 months to kind of see exactly what you did, and then figure out how to do more than that, like going forward in 90 days?
Yeah. So if you look back, like for me, I write my goals down at the beginning. On December 31st every year, I write my goals, like what I'm looking to do for the year, right? So that's a good audit. If I look at those goals, I look at what I've accomplished, what I haven't accomplished, and then what do I need to get accomplished for the next 90 days. So one thing that for me that I started to do this year that I learned, and this is going to be good into our conversation, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, when you really look at Fortune 500 companies, they don't operate from a scope of a full year or even 6 months. They look at things quarterly, right? So we're in the fourth quarter of the year, the last 3 months. So with these companies, they're trying to operate and they're trying to reach some very big targets in 3 months. So we should be able to do the same. We just got to plan it. Just got to create the actions behind it and just get to work.
I like it. How you doing over there, Antoine?
I am doing El Fabuloso, man. Really, really good. Good week. Yeah, man.
Good week.
Yeah. Good week. Week in the middle, a little hump day happening, so I'm glad about that. Yeah, I'm really blessed, man. Everything's coming together slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I agree with what Gamal was saying on that quarterly thing, though. Yeah, that is true. A lot of my mentors have told me that don't operate yearly. You operate quarterly, and then you got, I think, quarterly, and then the 6 month, right, or something, 6 month period, and then you estimate your return, some shit like that. But yeah.
You good over there, Mr. Chris?
Yeah, man. Like I said earlier, man, I today was just rough. Like I said, man, today was just rough. Yeah, it was just rough.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha.
But I'm good, man. It's one of those things where It's done and over with. I can't really change it, and now I'm processing. You understand what I'm saying? Like it was unreal, and then it was real, and now it's like, how do I deal with it? You know? So yeah, I'm good though. I'm good.
Man.
I'm interested in learning today.
Oh, who you telling, man? Speaking of which, man, that's what we talk about tonight. And here's how this conversation came about. Last week before last or so, me and Gamal, we hit each other up, a couple of texts, and then we decided to have a phone call. And the phone call lasted a long time, and we started talking about entrepreneurship and different things about it. And next thing you know, here we are, a couple of weeks later. And because for me, I was in the Army for 20 years, right? So I didn't focus or really think or do anything when it came to entrepreneurship. I thought that once I retired and I had my checks coming in for the rest of my life, I'm like, man, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to go get me a chill job as a school counselor, and I'm going to work there for another 20 years, and then I'm going to retire at 61. And then a couple of years in, and then right before the pandemic and all these different things started happening, I started sitting at home and I was like, you know what? It got to be more to life than this. I don't feel fulfilled. Started digging into things, started trying to figure out me, who I was. Next thing you know, end up found my purpose. And then what finding my purpose, created this platform, created, a lot of different things, just started creating, started learning, started doing a bunch of different things just because I figured out my purpose. And I realized that I didn't just want to work for someone my entire life. And even if I did, I still wanted to create something, and I enjoyed and have been enjoying the process of creating. And I think when I was in the military, I didn't do as much creating. I was building myself and I was learning different things, but I really wasn't creating. And everything that I kind of was creating, it was already kind of lined out for me. Like there's already a path for promotions in the Army. You do X, then you do Y, and then you do Z, and then you get your promotion. You do this, do it, and this, you will get promotion. Where out here, I had to create my own promotion in any type of business or any type of anything that I was building or working on at the time. So, like I said, all of this came about from that conversation. And then, like I said, now we're here. So, just want to start off with a question or a comment for the most part. And, what are some common misconceptions when it comes to entrepreneurship, or just common misperceptions? It can be a question, it can be a statement, however anyone wants to respond to these words right down here.
Well,
You can have an entrepreneurship and all this without a steady job. You have to have a steady. That whole thing about entrepreneurship, I'm going to go up and sell T-shirts or whatever without having a full-time job to sustain that to start off, that's so wrong. I can't even tell you. You've been living off rice.
But I hear that all the time. I hear people all the time talking about, oh man, I just dived out there, I just quit my job and I just went for it. And I made
some of them are bouncers.
See, I hear that too, but on the flip side of that, the men that I hear that from already had a nest egg to fall back on when they did that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's another that I agree with Antoine. The misconception is you can just quit your job with nothing, become an entrepreneur, and automatically become rich.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like it doesn't take work. And another misconception is being an entrepreneur means you have extra time like that. You understand what I'm saying? Like the entrepreneurs that I know work harder than most 9-to-5ers, and they work more than most 9-to-5ers because that business is their livelihood, and they, you know what I'm saying, and they're banking completely and totally on that. So they really, you know what I'm saying, plan B is plan A when it comes to that. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like there's this big myth that if you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business, that you have all of this time, and that comes with time. It doesn't happen right out the gate.
And you're not making profit for 2-3 years, sometimes even 5. Don't kid yourself. You're breaking even.
Mm-hmm.
You're breaking even. Anybody that tells you, oh, I'm balling this and that, you're breaking even, bro. Let's be real. because it takes it. Like I said, you have to have a full-time job in order to start any entrepreneur, because you're not doing it with nothing, and you're not getting no loan at the bank, especially with the way things are today. And an entrepreneurship doesn't mean that you got employees underneath you and all. No, you just no. When people talk like that, I just look at them and go, no. It's not out of your. It's an entrepreneurship is starting from a basement, making things work. First of all, you got to get somebody to write you a business plan. You just can't. That whole, it's gonna happen the way I make it happen. That doesn't exist. That's so false.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on really the key misconceptions. I think right now it's a highlight reel of success, right? Without the grind work that it takes. Now there are circumstances, right? There's always a 1%, there's always a 10%, there's always a 20% of people that are able to do it without actually having a 9 to 5, right? There's different ways you can speed up your process, and you think about like fitness, right? I can start to work out by myself, and probably over time I can see some results depending on how disciplined I am. Or I can hire a coach that's going to hold me accountable, and that can speed up my process as well too. So it all depends on what your team looks like, your circle, how many entrepreneurs you have around you, and that your environment really helps. We can get into that a little bit more, but we was talking about this last week. I remember a point in time where I was surrounded by only employees, right? What I mean by that is I'm going to my job, so everybody has an employee mindset, right? I'm talking to my family members. No one is in business, so employee mindset. So all the conversations are around being an employee. And if I started a conversation about entrepreneurship, right, then doubt would creep in there into those conversations. I changed that circle around, right? These are still my loved ones, the people that I love. Now I have a circle of people around me that are entrepreneurs. I talk to entrepreneurs throughout the country every single day. This is who I've decided to spend my time with. Now the thought process is different, right? There's some that may have the challenges, and there's some that have a very strong belief in their success, and they're just thriving. So it really depends on the environment that you're in as well too, and if you have a coach.
I think one, and thank you for everything that's been said. One, that people have to go to school to be an entrepreneur. I think that's one, and I'm putting that one out there because that's one that I held on to for a while. I mean, not held on to hold against other people, but to myself, I'm like, I didn't go to school for this, so I can't become an entrepreneur. So so that's one.
Yeah, I agree with all of them, man. And there's probably a whole bunch more out there. I think one of the things for me was that something really simple is that it was easy, that it's easy, and people all kind of touched on it, in the little bit that I've done over the last few years. It's like every time I learn something, it's like 10 more things that you have to learn. I was telling somebody yesterday, it's like, even if, like say for instance, you're just working for yourself, right? Well, if you decide to hire an employee, well, now you have to think about, okay, how much am I going to pay my employee? Am I going to offer insurance or benefits to this employee? What happens what's my backup plan for when the employee doesn't come to work? What happens if my employee gets pregnant? Am I going to pay maternity and or paternity leave? So all of these different things that you have to start thinking about just by doing something simple as hiring, or what may seem simple as hiring an employee. So it's like, in my experience so far, it's like it's very frustrating, but it's also challenging. There's a lot of fun times. There is a lot of goal accomplishment that goes along in there. But I would be a fool to say that the process is freaking easy. So anybody that I see, I'm sure we'll get into it later when we look at social media and stuff and what's been pushed out there. There's a lot of people think that it's real easy. And for me, at least in my process and my journey so far, it hasn't been easy. It's been a lot more doable because it's part of my purpose and I enjoy the different things that I do, you know. So for me, one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's easy.
There can't be, if you're an entrepreneur, there's nothing easy about. Listen, I work. Like I said, I work for myself, right? I do my own art and all this, and I have a manager. They take care of all the other stuff. It's not easy. You pay your own medical. I don't know about you guys, but you pay your own medical. You pay your own. Something goes bump in the night, you're paying for it. Something breaks down, you're paying for it. You're paying for everyday food, everyday groceries, everyday water. I don't know what you need a full-time job if you're going to be an entrepreneur until your company brings you in what you were making as your full-time job. You got to do things smart. And every mentor that I have always told me, don't quit your day job till that other job is paying what your day job is paying you and double, right? And then make sure you have at least a year of salary in the bank. Make sure you have a year of car payment in the bank so that rainy day comes along, you're not crying. You're not hustling because you have enough to worry about doing your entrepreneurship. The last thing you need is you can't pay rent. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. And you can't run out of inventory. You can't spend your time hustling for every garment you need or whatever it is you need to find the best deal. All that's time and money going away. And next thing you know, it's the end of the month and you got to pay again. I don't know what people are. What's easy about that? There's nothing easy about it. And if somebody says that, then they ain't doing an entrepreneurship. They got another job. They got a little side hustle. But they don't got an entrepreneurship, right? That's what I'm saying.
Any of y'all faced any challenges doing your entrepreneurship that you like to share?
The misconception that the people that are closest to you will support you.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a huge one. Dude, I thought that. I was like, yeah, because, everybody like, yeah, man, when you going to do this? When you going to put some swag out? When you going to have this? When you going to have this? And I'm just like, yeah, I got all these people around me, my warm market, and everybody just going to drop something and everybody just going to buy it. Nope. It's the people that haven't been related to me or the people outside of my circle who have supported me more. I was talking to somebody about this at work. Like, we have like licensed marriage counselors and like licensed counselors and not doctors, but like high level nurses and people in the medical field. People won't touch them. They won't call them, reach out to them or nothing. And I'm just like, y'all whack. Like, when something happened to me, my sister, a nurse practitioner, she's the first person I call. I use my resources. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That's a huge one. Huge one.
The ones around you are the ones that are looking for the deal when you're trying to start off. They're asking for a deal when they know you're starting off. No, that's the misconception that they're going to buy it at the price you give it to them. No, they're going to hustle, and they know you're already hustling. So that whole thing of they're going to support you and put it in their storefront and all that sort of stuff. First thing out of their mouth is, what am I getting for it? Like, so what's the kickback? What am I getting? Like, they want something from it. They don't want something from nothing. So no, that's a misconception of that. I've never heard anybody said they have an entrepreneurship and everybody that around them bought it up, helped them out, gave them money, make them start, pass the word along. They ain't passed nothing. Because take too much time out of their day for what they're doing to help you, unless there's something in it for them. I mean, I'm sorry to sound so jaded, but it's the facts,
I thought you were going to say something, Gamal.
Oh yeah. One of the challenges that I faced was time management. Like, my misconception that I had was that just because I had some knowledge and I had passion, that I was going to easily transition the same skill sets I had at work into my own. I was like, hey, what if I spent 40, 50, 60 hours working on my business instead of doing it for somebody else? And I tried that, right? So took a vacation. I was like, I'm going to lock in on my business during these 7 days that I'm off vacation. No, it didn't happen. Right? I was hanging out.
You was on vacation.
I was on vacation, right? So it's and then you got to really look at it. And there's people that I've coached and I help, and it's the same challenge over and over. When you when you have a 9 to 5, you get paid based on your productivity, and there's accountability around that as well too, right? So sometimes you can't answer your phone may be away, right? You're not, and your family knows as well that you have a job, so they're probably not going to call you around certain time periods. But when you're free and they know that you're just kind of working on your business or whatever they think that you're doing, right? They just call you anytime, and it's easy to be distracted. So that was the biggest challenge that I had when I first started, and that's when I learned, like, you have to have a calendar that is non-negotiable when you're really trying to grind in business. But that time management piece always gets a lot of people that I've encountered in this space. It's a rough journey.
For me, one of them is, and I'm doing better, always growing. I do better at certain times than others, is organization, especially when you have more information or getting new information. You're like, all right, I'm organized. You get everything together. You're like, yeah, I think I'm good right now. I done cleaned out my inboxes. You know what I mean? I got everything written down on notes, got everything on calendars and stuff. Then all of a sudden, one or two things shift, and now you're like, boom. Or either life happens, or something just happens, and then the whole schedule's thrown off, and then now you're trying to go back and go back and collect or finish what you had started a while ago. You may not want to work on this project now because it's going to take an extended amount of time, and you only have a short amount of time right now. So just juggling the schedule and of all the different things that go into, how much time do I spend on Saturday on this, and then say, okay, well, my wife wants to spend time with me. I want to spend time with her. I got to have family time. Got to have son time. Got to have, time walking the dog. Got to have time for me. You know what I mean? All of these different things. So it's like trying to find and balance the challenging schedule that goes into entrepreneurship and still trying to learn. You know what I mean? Still trying to gain information, create things, put information out, and keep repeating all these cycles in different orders and same orders. And it's just a lot to manage, just, schedules in general. It's been, like I said, it's one of my biggest challenges.
And on top of that, Garfield, all what you said, another misconception is keeping that positive mindset that you're going to make it. That's a challenge in itself every day. Every day, man. You got to tell yourself, okay, I'm closer. Okay, I'm this. Even when you don't even have it in the bank, you got to manifest.
You ever want to quit, Antoine?
Huh?
You ever want to quit and be like, man, I'm just done?
Yeah. And then that whole, anytime I say I want to quit, they say just when you want to quit, that's when you're going to make it. That whole freaking, listen, I listen to all that, that Joe Dispenza and all that motivational. I do. I got to keep it going, right? I'm remembered by I am known by my first drawing, and I'll be remembered by my last. But in the middle, in between all that, I got to stay positive, focus. You tell yourself you can do it. That it's in itself is draining on top of the stuff of creating, right? And nobody's around you really giving you that phone call going like, I know you're going to do it. You're going to be good. You're going to be good. They're on the phone saying, hey, I'm heading out. You want to go out and get some beers or some drinks, distractions. And if you have a family, you got to give them that attention. It's a lot of work, man. Like, who said time management? I think it was Gamal. Right? Time management, man. And I'm still horrible at time management. No, it's true. It's I can't believe it's 24 hours in a day. And it's like, really? It's like 9 o'clock already? Like, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
You know
what you're talking about.
No, go ahead. It's on y'all.
Oh. You hear something, Dr. Easley?
Oh. Yes, one challenge that I have, figured out, but it's one of the shares that when you're getting paid on time, like when you are, when you are an independent contractor and you're, doing, you're doing work, make sure that you have mechanisms to ensure that you get paid on time. And if it's an extended contract, just make sure that you make sure that you parcel it out. But before you get started, you can work that out and make sure that you get paid before you get started. So now you're not necessarily working for your money. You're just like starting, and now you have a schedule to keep and to keep things moving, but it was a lesson that I had to, that I learned earlier this year.
That's a big
challenge. Yes.
I ain't there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so question. So I know a couple of you mentioned like time management, and I would like to learn from you as well too. So Garfield, for you, you talk about organization. What habits or actions have you taken to help you with organization? Like what, when you're having your best week or your best month around organization, like what are you doing?
Well, I have a schedule. My schedule is freaking perfect. Like for the most part, almost every inch or every second or minute of my day is pretty timed out. You know what I mean? And I've already thought through the process of approximately how much time it's going to take me to do something. And then I stick to it. So even if, like, say if I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go and do something simple, might be like, all right, I'm going to create, 7 Facebook posts so I can post in the Facebook group over the next 14 days. I'll post one every 2 days or something like that. Well, I will put in there and be detailed, not just Facebook posts. I will put Facebook posts in regard to X, Y, and Z. So that way, when I'm going in there and I'm actually creating them, I'm not having to think about what the content is going to be about. I've already thought about it. So for me, it's just having everything written down, very detailed. And then honestly, making sure that I get my workout and my rest. To be honest, get up in the morning, get my workout in, start my day and stuff like that, eat good and stuff like that, and then get plenty of rest and stuff at night. So those are pretty much the things that help me when I'm kind of when I'm having those really good weeks.
Nice. That's good stuff.
Very detailed schedule.
No, good stuff. The schedule is super important. Anton, what about for you? You said you mentioned time management as an opportunity. When it is working for you, what are you doing?
Well, as far as what I do to manage my time management now?
When you are having a successful time period of time management, what are you doing?
That means I got up exactly when I was supposed to get up to go to the gym. Like my day is so set. It's really, I don't have much of a complicated day, right? It's so set. I get up, I know what my day is I know what it is before it even happens, right? I can tell you what I'm gonna do on a weekend until a phone call comes in. So my day is, if I get up in enough time to go to the gym and do what I'm gonna do, then my rest of my day falls in place. But let's just say I get up, I'm a little groggy, coffee took a little longer. Next thing you know, I'm 45 minutes in, half an hour in, I'm already know I'm off schedule. I'm done, right? So now I go to the gym. I spend my hour and a half, sometimes 2, depending. Come back, shower. Now I have to decompress from the gym before I start drawing. So now I'm halfway. And the sad thing is, how I base my time is that I have to draw a certain section within a certain time to know that by the end of the let me back up. How an artist knows to finish a project is we section off how long it will take us to do that section. So we kind of like, okay, it'll take us a week to do this. It'll take us a week to do that. So that's 2 weeks in. So we know it'll take us about 4 weeks to do a project. If you're doing it based on clientele and you have to have a deadline. So I already know it takes me 12 hours to do that. I'm already halfway into the day. I'm starting at 1 o'clock. Now I'm drawing till 4 in the morning. Ain't no way I'm getting up for 8 again. So now everything is pushed back. So I know once I leave the time, I say, okay, I got to leave, got to get to the gym by this time. I'm good. Half an hour later, I'm thrown off. So that's my main thing. So now I have 3 clocks, one real early, and then one that tells me, okay, you got to get, and then the emergency one, okay, you got to be up now. So that's how I'm fixing it. And I'm still a work in progress, But yeah, time management is key for entrepreneurs. You have to be so disciplined. I mean, I don't want to harp on it, but you got to be so disciplined because you're accountable. You're not really accountable to anybody. So it's not like you're punching a clock, right? So you take time for granted. You stay a little longer doing something. It really pushes you back. And it's unfortunate, but it does. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And I have other important areas in my life I'm trying to fix. So, yeah. That's how I would say that.
So I got a few things. When I was working, I always had meetings back to back to back. So I figured out that one way I can always get there on time is I put 30 minutes to an hour between meetings. So so now I don't have to rush from one meeting to another one, and I can kind of reflect on what I just did. So it allows me to be present for the other one. So now it's like I don't have to feel pressured and so pressed. It's more like, all right, I can go from Brother Martin to Brother Antoine. I have to start my day early. I love starting my day early. It's like, as they say, get up while everyone is sleeping. And I kind of have a set time. I know that if I can at least be done with all my self-care stuff by 8:30, I'm good. But see, the thing is, I normally don't have to start working until 10. So it's like, if I can get it done by like 8:30, it allows me to, not lollygag, but if I wanted to, I could, but just to make sure that, that I'm ready. Because once I hit 10, it's like, all the way through. Another thing that helps me manage my time now lately is I fast a day a week at least from food. And so what that allows me to do is kind of like let my body kind of clean itself out and kind of reset my mind. But then it makes me focus on what I do with my time, because I love to eat now. So, so when I'm like fasting, it becomes easier for me to focus more on tasks and get that done. And then, of course, I'm also healing my body at the same time. And, and then another, let's see, what, another thing. I am learning to say, I've learned to say no. When you say no, no one can pack your schedule and take control of what it is that you're doing. But if you say yes to everything, oh my goodness. Now that's a lesson I had to learn about 3 years ago. So no. And a hell no is appropriate sometimes too. Now, if I have to go past the hell,
You are
I'm
damn
not
right.
liable for what you see. My brother said it. I'm not liable for what happens after the HE double hockey sticks. Okay, but that's it. I'll stop.
Yeah, man, saying no, that's a thing. Like everybody knows, I'm restarting my YouTube channel, and there are a lot of men out there that want to be on my YouTube channel, but they also want to use my channel as their personal soapbox. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, if you're not talking about what the channel is based on, don't think you're gonna come over here and just bogart my microphones and my time. That's just not about to happen. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not a I don't like you thing. It's not beef. It's just what you are doing is not conducive to what I'm trying to do to with my platform. You want to do that, start your own platform and I'll come on your platform and we can do that. But you're not about to use my platform for what you want to do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, part of that, and summing that up is expectations. One thing, like even when I think I started talking about the 90-day run that I'm on, I had to sit my wife down to the side and say, hey, I'm grinding these next 90 days. This is going to be late nights, early morning. There's nothing wrong with me. I have nothing that's not going on. You didn't do anything. I'm just locked in for these next 90 days, right? So you got to have these seasons where you set expectations with people around you, so they know exactly what you're working on, so they don't take it personal, right? So the expectation is super important. This is another piece of communication that we know that we always got to constantly work on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then having the support system around you, whether or not you need it or not, and support looks different for everybody else. Support could be sometimes self-support, to whereas you may only have yourself. You may have to, lock yourself somewhere in the room and do your thing on and grind like that. But like Gamal said, I think that's very important is when you have loved ones and you have, family members and stuff like that, you have to communicate that to them because people are human, and people have feelings. And, when you're in a relationship and it may seem like you're pulling back, you have to express that to the person. Say, hey, like Gamal said, I'm just parroting what he said. It's like, you got to communicate that through, because if not, that could damper or hinder your progress in your 90 days or whatever you're trying to grind on. Because if you're having problems in your relationship because you haven't communicated what's going on, now that it can be an issue, So that's why it's good to. I ain't going on to that, but that's why it's really good to make sure that we have good partners and wives and husbands or whoever you're going to be with that are willing to support us on our journeys and our ventures and different things like that, because as we heard so far, man, it's a journey. It's a rough one. It's a long one. With that being said, what are some of the not what are, but if you guys look at social media and different things like that, what are some of the things that we see in social media or in like culture or whatever, maybe even the way that we were raised, that have caused people to actually to kind of sort of have a certain view about it? Like if you were raised a certain way, you probably went to work your entire life. And like Gamal said earlier, if you wasn't raised around people, or you don't associate yourself with people who are entrepreneurs. So I just want to look at, what kind of sort of, as we look into social media and popular, let me back up. I'm having a brain fart. As we look at like pop culture or social media and different things like that, how do y'all think what people see is hindering or hurting their entrepreneurship?
People only see the highlights. People only see the highlights of entrepreneurship. People only see the trips and the cars and the luxury lifestyle behind entrepreneurship. But what they don't see is the work that came behind all of that and the ups and downs that comes with entrepreneurship. They seem to believe that entrepreneurship is just, like you said earlier, like they seem to believe that it's easy because all of these entrepreneurs are basically lifestyle influencers on the internet. You understand what I'm saying? They're showing you the lifestyle of an entrepreneurship, but not the hard work behind being one. And
I
so
think it's
people get this clouded mindset behind, you know what I'm saying? People get this clouded mindset like, oh, if I just do this, I'll be able to do this and I'll be able to quit my job tomorrow. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's really not that. It's simple. It's really, really simple, but it is not easy. You understand what I'm saying? It's not easy.
And it's a facade. I don't look at, everybody puts up a facade on the internet, and it distracts you because you really think you could just go out there and do it. One thing I want to touch on that's very important, and for me at least, like I don't have a significant other, so I'm free to do what I want when I want, right? But if you're gonna have an entrepreneurship and you're with somebody, like you're with that person, you have to have a full-blown conversation, letting them know money's gonna be tight. Time is going to be tight. You have to structure it with that person. You can't just go off and do what I do, right? Because I'm accountable to no one. And when people tell me they're starting this entrepreneurship, I always ask them, so what did your wife say? Is she backing you? Is she like picking up extra hours at work? Like how you managing that to happen? Because you just said you're dropping one more day at work. That's real. And that's money lost. And then you have to have kids. Somebody has to pick them up. So I would say if you're to be an entrepreneur and if you want to do this thing, you really have to have that talk with the significant other. Just like if somebody's coming in my life, because I ain't going into theirs, they're coming into mine. This is how it is when I draw. And I think you have to have that structure if you're starting your own business, because it really is a commitment and time loss out of your regular routine. And I don't know if that's I think that's like across the board. You're spending more than enough. You're sleeping with it in your mind too. You're so focused on getting this thing started. It's your baby. And like I said, you're losing at least one day of work. So, and you're tired. Yeah. But like I said, I can take a nap anytime I want, so I'm good.
Hey, Anton, when you get married, we need to interview you on this podcast the day you get married. All right. If some way you find a way to attract a relationship conversation, you You want to get married. I know you do.
I do.
I
And
would
the only
love
reason I
to
want
be
to
a
get
fly
married,
on the wall on that conversation.
the only reason I want to get married is because I want kids. No other way, right? But I'm telling you, I'm not going into her life. She's coming into mine. There's no.
I want
I
to
don't
meet
really
this
care what she's got going on. Really
Got it,
don't.
got it. All right, cool. Now look at so like for you, so you being an entrepreneur and you see what other artists are probably doing on social media, like how do you feel like for other artists who are young and up and coming? Like for example, my daughter, she's an artist and she's like all over the place in art. Like she hasn't really found her niche yet. She can paint. She's exploring in tattooing. But one of the things that she has is she's following these people who are artists, and she feels like she's missing out. She's like, she told me this week that I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be at. So I have to ask her, like, hey, did you improve from last year? Yeah. Did you know how to do tattoos 2 years ago? No. Are you making more money this year than you were last year? Right. So it really creates this comparison with other people. And what's that quote? Comparisons is the thief of joy. I think social media creates that even in business as well too. But what are you seeing with artists as far as like just the way that they're promoting that may not be realistic to other artists who are in entrepreneurship?
That you can go on a website, upload your work, and make money. All those websites coming out that you upload your work on my website and I can sell it for you and all that, that snake oil shit. No. Art is about what a person would like. Art is about reaching people, absolutely. But the whole I'm going to sell you your artwork on my page and you're going to be seen and people are, no. That's all BS. BS. It does not happen like that, And I'm speaking from experience and from a group of artists that I hang with. We are all together. We all have our own managers and our own agents and shit like that. We all laugh about when we see these ads coming up that you can do it, And I'm speaking from an artist point of view. And I would tell you your daughter about as a past tattoo artist. Just ask her, how many pigskins have you tattooed? Because that's how you practice. How many have you done? I used to do 10 a week. How many have you done? I used to do 10 a week to get good at it. If you do 1 or 2, you ain't a tattoo artist. It's a little side thing. So you have to ask that question. How many pigskins have you tattooed? Right? Then you have to ask yourself, when was the last time you changed your gun, your tattoo gun? Because I can tell you now, it only lasts 3 to 4 months. And the pins and the needles. So these are solid questions if you want to be an artist. I buy a paintbrush every 2 weeks. Like, when was the last time you bought a new color? One of my pastels cost me $4. Black costs $4 to have, right? And there's different shades of it. When was the last time you used black? Like, how many works is she producing? Does she know how long it takes her to produce a drawing? These are valid questions at an artist. And every time I talk to a guy that's an artist, he goes, oh, man, I don't know. You ain't no artist because you got a client that's waiting for something, right? When was the last time somebody bought a print off of you? That's what I'm trying to say. Listen, if you're gonna, I had a side job a long time before I got discovered to do what I want to do, and I remember working in hotels because they had flexible hours that I can go home and draw, so I could split my shift, my 2 days off. I mean, I took jobs like that were flexible, That's all. I'm talking from an art point of view.
No, I appreciate that. That's the point of view I'm looking for. So the same question for Dr. Easy. Do you have a podcast as well?
Yes, sir. It's called Heartwood.
Okay.
HEARTWOOD. Yes, sir.
All right. So Garfield, Dr. Easley, and Chris. So think about that same question, right? So how does the portrayal of podcasting on social media and everywhere, what do you see there? Right. Obviously, people are telling you how easy it is. Garfield, we talked about this, like how much work it is, the editing, everything behind the scenes. So you guys hit on that?
I'm going to speak for me. I have noticed that when you are doing something outside of the norm, it's difficult to be seen like that. Like in the podcasting, YouTubing arena, it seems like the most lucrative way to get paid is for us to be arguing with our reflection. You understand what I'm saying? Or for us to be ratchet, or for us to be, you know what I'm saying, manosphere this, red pill this. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of just actually having an informative set like the one that we have right now, but we're talking about specific things. You understand what I'm saying? So it's difficult to break out. You understand? Unless you have like a real viral moment, or unless you have a crew of people that can give you the kind of value that you need to actually put yourself out there. Like the podcasting game, if you're not talking about the man woman dynamic, it's I'm going to say it's difficult. You understand what I'm saying? But that's just me.
Well, I found, like being able to find, so my podcast kind of, it deals with the intersection of like diversity, equity, and inclusion, but particularly like in natural resources and environmental sciences. So we have a lot of conversations around environmental injustice, things like that. And so, I'm fortunate that I was able to kind of, curate an audience about 4 years ago, when I was starting to work, and started to put it together. And now we can, and then I was able to get some, high profile folks on there. So it's been, but like I learned something every year, it's like we even figure out how to improve our sound every year. But it's, trying to think of anything else about the podcast. Oh, well, yeah. So, I just mentioned environmental science and, said those things, right? So I'm a forester. So I started a podcast in an industry or in a profession that I work in. So I can converse about it. I didn't start a podcast and we talk about politics. I didn't start a podcast and we talk about, I mean, we'll if it's happening, but, we may not, I mean, it's not, we won't talk about it, but like say, when Mr. Floyd was killed, like our podcast was, really focused on something. But when it deals with affecting communities, we don't stray from that. We'll talk about that. What I see on social media is people just making a podcast to talk about the popular topics, and so, like I remember a sister asked me about public speaking a couple of years ago. She wanted to talk about politics. And I looked at her Facebook page. She couldn't even spell politics. And I was like, wait, hold on. Wait, you're going to talk about something that you can't, right? You're going to talk about something that you can't even spell? And, and then she kind of took it like I was trying to demean and say, like, go to school. And that's not what I was doing. I was like, no, I don't think you have to go to school to know something. I was just telling my mom last night, I have a reputation in my family. You don't want to argue with Rashard. And I said, no, you don't want to argue with me if you haven't read up on it, if you hadn't talked about it. I said, oh, and if you don't know how to manage your emotions, careful because I got a nice hook. So I'm like, hey, you don't want to argue with me, because I will go 1, 2, 3 with you.
So you good at knocking people off they square.
I'll be the biggest rook that they ever ran into, but really it's Chet.
I'll hit you up after the show.
It's just, but I mean, but I'm telling you, brothers, but to see people who just want to just talk sometimes, and it's like, do you know what you're talking about? So that's one of the misportrayals that I've seen on social media is that I can just talk about anything. Trust me, I'm not. I won't talk about 45 on camera.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy subjects on social media, and then the phrases that people come up with are like just like beyond me. I'm like, man, these are just some clever things that don't even make any sense. Like, and not to go to a subject, but one that got me was like the post luxury. I'm like, that whole, you guys seen that one? The argument where the guy said that there is pre luxury and post luxury. Okay, I'll share that with you. That could be a whole topic of conversation. Yeah, it's very interesting, and that kind of went viral for that.
For me, so I started. We started this podcast YouTube channel. November of last year, November 2022, right? No, November 21. Yeah, we started November 21. So this November would be 2 years. When you look at it on TV or you open up YouTube and you see everybody and they got 600,000 and 60,000 and 2.5 million and blue checks and all of these different things. And you hear them talking, you was like, man, anybody can do that. Anybody can get behind a mic and just talk. And the reality of it is anybody can get behind a mic and talk. Everybody can't be successful getting behind the mic and talk. Most of the people that we see on our timeline and stuff like that are the people who have already kind of sort of made it, or they're going viral, or they're trending right now. Like Chris says, it's hard to break out when you're doing green content and topics that are not necessarily trendy or not necessarily popular. There is something to be said about how a lot of people want to see drama. That's why shows like Housewives and different things like that are so popular. People like certain amount of drama in their life. And I get it. After you've been working hard all day long, you don't want to come over here and listen to 5 dudes talk about how hard it is or certain hard things about entrepreneurship. You want to get on your phone and you want to scroll through TikTok and you want to be entertained. I get it. You know what I mean? And I have no problem with people choosing to do whatever it is they want to do with their time. But when we talk about some of the hard things and, what social media puts out there, and what we see in these YouTube streets is, it's a huge challenge. I remember when, the first 6 months of the show, everything was pre-recorded. So we would get together pre-recorded, and sometimes I may spend 8 to 10 hours on one video editing because I had to try to learn how to edit videos because I didn't have money to pay anybody to edit videos. So I had to learn it on my own. I had to learn how to, use StreamYard and use these different services and, all the things. And it's not easy. And one of the big things, I'm in a mastermind group with the lead attorney, and I've met Chris kind of sort of through some of the same circles. And we see on there all the time, successes and failures when it comes to YouTube and just social media and stuff. But it is a lot of people think that it's easy, but you have to post often and you have to post stuff that people want to see. And it's challenging. And every video or every time that you go live or something like that is time that you can't use for something else. So, and like I said, this channel has just over 3,000 followers, and it's 2 years old. And it's people who have went from 0 to 100,000 or 1 million in 1 year, so they found the secret to success, good, bad, or indifferent. A lot of it is trending topics and, things like Chris talked about, but it is what it is. But if anybody think that these YouTube streets and these podcast streets are real easy, it's not. It's a challenge. It's a job. It's a hustle. It's something that you have to put time and effort into, just like everything else, if you want to be successful. And like anything else, like anything that's successful, in most part, people have to work hard to get there. So don't think you're just going to go on YouTube, open up a mic, and it's just going to be so easy. Shoot, this mic equipment, cameras, like StreamYard, I have to pay for this every month or about a year. Editing software, you have to pay for that. The expenses that come into a podcast or YouTube channel and stuff like that. Like, I have to have internet. You have to have somewhere to stream. You have to have lighting. You have to have mics. You have to have, headphones or some sort of speaker system or something. And then you got to have time to edit all these things. You have to have time to post. You have to have time to get content that you want to talk about and create calendar invites and show notes and create thumbnails. Like, it's a whole bunch of stuff you got to do just before you hit the freaking go live button, So I'm gonna get off my soapbox now when it comes to YouTube stuff.
I thought that.
No, but see, that's the type of stuff that the people that want to get into this type of thing need to hear. Like, there are things behind the scenes that people just don't know about. It's not just getting some lights, a microphone, and a camera and going live. It's more to it. You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
And how many? And what about last month or month before, last couple of months when like every single body had had technical issues? You remember that a couple months ago?
Yeah,
Like,
when the
it was
internet
a
bug was hitting
roller coaster.
everybody.
Everybody, like the internet bug went around. Everybody up here got it. You know what I mean? I don't know what happened. It was seemed like every week it was somebody new, somebody different. You know, and what do you do when you drop your when you delete your content by accident?
So true.
Or you forget to hit the live button.
Yeah. So true. So I didn't know there was that much work behind it until you started telling me, explaining to me behind the channels, behind the scenes, Garfield. Or I bought that, the lead attorney thing, and I'm like, Jesus, look how much stuff there is. Are you kidding me right now? Like, no, I gotta pay somebody I got no time to sit down like that.
Yeah. Because if you just on the other end of the mic, you're like, all right, I got a mic, I got a camera, I got a laptop. I just sit down and plop myself down, eat my nuts and drink my tea, and then slick my hair back, and I'm good to go.
And another one that Gamal, I want to tell you, like I wanted to get t-shirts made and all this, and that whole print to go thing. So I tested them. I wanted to see what quality they give. They send you this t-shirt, a print to go, and I'm saying, put her out there. It was the crappiest print I've ever seen in my life. Wasn't screen printed. It was print to garment, and it was crap. 2 washes, it started to fade. So that whole, you can have a side business printing t-shirts, print to go. I was like, look at how they're selling this thing. So that's another thing. That's another area that you got to watch out for. And you got to spend money. I had to spend $20 to find that out. Right?
Yeah. There's the other, and I'm going to call it a scheme, right? So I think another misconception of like social media as it comes to relates to entrepreneurship and business is that if you have to be aware of the intent of the person who's posting. Some of us are selling on social media. Majority of people are selling. They're luxury marketing, right? Chris, you hit on that, right? They're selling a particular lifestyle
marketers
that is going to, bring you to their page and, have you believe that you can do some of those things, right? And sometimes there's people that will tell you like, hey, I started my podcast last month. Now I have, 400,000, views and all that. That's also sales as well too. There's networking that's going on. Let's say, Garfield has 10 million followers. I paid, Garfield 10 grand for him to come on my podcast. He promotes it on his page. His followers join my podcast. And if I leave, with 10% of those people that follow me now, I've won. Right. So there's so many different tricks to the trade that it's not being talked about. Sometimes we can create controversy. Like we talked about those hot topics. I can create, I can start to maybe challenge or disagree with somebody else on a whole nother social media page. And now we go back and forth. Somebody else records it. Now we're both, getting followers, even though we're friends behind the scenes. Right. So there's sales and marketing that is happening all the time. And you have to be aware of that. Hey, are they really showing something that is truth, or are they selling or marketing to me? And I think that's the awareness that we miss.
Yeah, everything I hear from social media, like I go and verify it and look for it myself. But they're always the same talking points. It's just being rotated, especially when a topic is hot. Everybody's talking about the same thing, just differently. And then you bring people on that are so unprofessional. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work to stay professional and do it professional, make it look professional. That's all I'm saying. I think the misconception is that it's easy, especially now that I know what goes on behind the scenes and the editing and boy, that's work. Yeah.
I guess entrepreneurship ain't always glamorous.
But I'll say this. I want to say this, and I have to say this because I don't think any of us touched it. It's so rewarding when you're doing it yourself. It is such when it does click and it does happen for you and you do make that check, it is so rewarding that I can't even explain it. It's very, very self-rewarding. It's like you really got something that's yours. And when you get that little nugget, you really want to make it grow. You really want to add, water to that plant and all that. I just think there's such self gratification when it does click, when it does work. So that's the upside.
Ever since me and Gamal talked about that article about the 6-pack and the millionaire. Have we talked about that on live yet, or was that before we came on? Was that before we went live, Gamal?
Oh, we could touch on it again.
Yeah, touch on it real quick. The on that article.
Yeah, so we were talking about the success rates of being a successful business owner, and actually you being able to achieve a 7-figure salary. And I was telling Garfield that there's a study that was done, a while back that shows that it's actually easier to become a millionaire than it is to get abs. Right. Statistically speaking, there are more millionaires in the United States than there are people who have a 6-pack. So
Wow.
if you can, so the whole idea is that's why you have some people they tell you, hey, focus on fitness and your health and all these things matter. They'll help you with entrepreneurship. They don't really give you the whole story, but that's the story behind it. The discipline that it takes to get abs is that same discipline. If you were to unpack that entire recipe and you added it to business, you will probably see a higher level of success, right? So we all already have our own winning formulas in certain areas. We got to be able to take those formulas and apply it to other areas as well.
That's true, man. I like that.
Exactly. And ever since we had that conversation, I've been having all of these fitness analogies for everything, man. I'm just like, and now it's like it's making more sense.
Yeah.
Like I work on my fitness at least 5 days a week. That's on a bad day. I'm usually doing 6 and sometimes 7 days. That's just me. I see the benefit of being consistent with my fitness. I can see easily how being that dialed in with your fitness, being that dialed in with your entrepreneurship. I remember, look, when I was in Korea, I was 100. I got up to, I'm about 164, 160 right now, and when I was in Korea in 2014, I was 189 pounds. I was almost 190. And I had a 28-inch waist, and I was benching my max 280. Man, it took a lot of work. I was eating big. I was working out twice a day. I was, getting my cardio in, getting all my meals in. But that was a lot of work. Like, it was exhausting to do all of that stuff on a regular and on a consistent basis. I enjoyed it though, but I didn't always enjoy it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I got up and I'm just like, man, I just don't want to go to the gym today. If I eat another piece of chicken, you know what I mean? I'm like, bruh, like I'm tired of eating this dry chicken, but I didn't know how to meal.
In rice
I knew how
with
to
no
cook and meal
flavor.
prep, but I was just trying to cut out a lot of stuff because I wanted to go and enjoy myself and drink on the weekends. So during the weekdays, I didn't have a lot of sugar and salt and different things like that.
Right.
But like I said, my body and everything and my mental and everything was straight. But the more and more I think about all of that, and like Gamal said, applying some of those same things and those same strategies and that same mindset to entrepreneurship or anything that you're doing for that matter, you put that energy into your marriage. Put that energy in all of that and get down into your finances like that. So I know we're talking about entrepreneurship, but that fitness level and being able to dial in like that, like Chris knows exactly what I'm talking about. He posts all the time. He in the gym. His back is amazing.
You damn right. You are
You know
damn
what I'm
right.
saying? Exactly. So let's take that mindset and apply it to entrepreneurship, apply it to finances, apply it to our mental health and taking care of ourselves. You know what I mean? What if we got dialed into taking care of ourselves like that, to where we decide, I ain't eating that crap no more. You know what I mean? All that processed stuff. You know what I mean? What if we got dialed into just who we are and just becoming a better person. I know a couple of people kind of touched about it, and I think that before you can do anything great, you have to work on yourself. I think as long as you're constantly working on yourself, everything else is going to kind of sort of take care of itself. That's just my personal opinion.
It's like a trickle down effect.
Yes.
It's a trickle down effect. If you get first of all, everything begins with thought. You have to think of it before you do it. I have to think about getting up out of my bed and going to the gym. Then I have to think about what I'm going to eat. Then I have to think about going to work. The mindset behind all of that has to be the basis. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you have to have the mindset. I'm going to say, since we are talking about the social media side of it, I rarely see these lifestyle influencers talk about the mindset that you have to do the things that they do to get where they are. You understand what I'm saying? I rarely hear about it. And I think that's a big piece that's missing. They just say, go do it. But how? And what if my mind isn't wrapped around just doing it? What if I don't feel like doing it today? You understand what I'm saying? They don't do that. And that's a big piece that's missing.
Man, this is about to go into a whole different conversation. So there's some people that don't understand that there's a state of being that you have to come from to get certain things accomplished, right? So if you look at, like, certain sports athletes, or if you look at people who are successful, there are some traumas or things that happen to them in their life, or some insecurities that they have that makes them think like, hey, I'm not good enough. So they keep going. They may reach $1 billion and they think that, oh man, this is not enough. They keep going. There is a state of being, of thought that they're coming from that is producing that result. And people don't catch that. You have to figure out, when you are producing, what state are you coming from? Like, what are you being right now? And sometimes you can tap into other people. And that's something that I learned from one of my coaches. So when I don't want to work out, guess who I'm tapping into? David Goggins. Somehow I got to think about this guy, right? This dude running miles and miles with pneumonia. So I can definitely go knock out 2 miles, even if I don't want to, with a bum knee, right? So, like, you can tap into somebody else's energy. And that's why you see some of these athletes, they tap into that Mamba mentality, right? Like, they understand the state of being that Kobe is. I don't want to hang out with you. I want to party with you. I'm going to the gym, right? So that's what that mentality is. You can tap into somebody else's energy to be able to get done whatever you need to get done.
I say, or CT Fletcher yelling, "It's still your set." That's me. Every morning, I command you. I don't care how sick you are. I don't care how long you got to work. It's still your set. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I wake up to.
And it's true, but
just a couple of words.
But you look at people.
I can't say that on here. I can't say that on here.
I got me a shirt down fast.
I'm hard on people when it comes to. I mean, when I gotta say it, man. When I see somebody that's overweight, this and that, I'm gonna tell you the lack of discipline it takes to look like that. It's like, why would I want you in my circle? I don't even want to smell that in my circle, because it's gonna rub off. When people say it's hard to lose weight.
Antoine, I understand completely where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from, because you know what I've been through. You know what I've been through. But it's not just you, and it may not be just them being lazy. It may be, since we're talking about mainstream media and social media, it may be that it's accepted. And if we say something, then there's something wrong with us and not something wrong with them. You understand what I'm saying? So I get where you're coming from. To have somebody let their body go like that. You understand what I'm saying? Knowing that they are in full control of how their body can look and how their health is, and to just let it go because it's accepted. That's another thing that social media does that I can't stand. They put us in a box for saying something, when really they should be like, all right, I can understand that there might be some health issues, but you know what you're doing. You understand what I'm saying? And you can fix this if you want to, but don't get on social media.
That pork has an
you understand what I'm saying? But see, that's coming from
But
us.
before we go too far into what those people are not doing, I want to swing it right on back to where we was at before then.
Listen, that's the same discipline it takes to be an entrepreneur. Okay, period. That's the same discipline it takes. Lifting the reps, going to the gym, getting results. You're not going to get a six-pack if you don't eat right, because that's what it is. The gym's not going to give you a six-pack. It's diet. Everybody knows that it's diet because you use your abs every day, so they're there. It's diet. 75%, 70 to 75% is diet, right? And eating the right foods to give you the energy to not feel lazy to go to the gym. And that's a sacrifice. It takes dedication, sacrifice, and commitment. That's it. I don't know how else to square it up. But
Chris said it earlier. Chris said it's simple,
but it is not easy.
No, it's not easy. But that's how you should look at starting your entrepreneur. It's not easy. To motivate yourself every day to try to make money and not have money is not easy. And then to have a full-time job, to come home tired and have to work another 8 hours on your entrepreneurship is not easy, because then you're from your work to your garage where your entrepreneurship is starting. That little break in between is dinner and food. And then you got to get motivated to say, oh, I got another 8 hours in there now. I got to pump that out because I got these orders to fulfill.
And kids and a wife.
And kids and
all the extra stuff.
Yeah. And then you got David Goggins telling you, get up, soldier.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd love to be you because that's all you do every day. But over here, we got families over here.
He already put in his work. Go ahead.
Dr. Easy, I think he's gonna say something first, and then I'll jump in after. You have something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, whatever habits that you have, I say, like everybody who becomes an entrepreneur is usually working first, right? You know, and so any habits that you have when you're working transcend into what you do in your entrepreneurship. You know, so it's
pause.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that if you're lazy on your job, then when you start your business and entrepreneur, you're probably going to be lazy at that too?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say never give yourself an excuse. I'd say now, I've been saying it for about the last 3 years, but never excuse mediocrity, meaning don't make an excuse for when you don't get something accomplished, because you're just undermining your own brilliance by doing that. And but if you work and that's what you do constantly at work, you're going to do the same thing in, when you step over into this side of things. So I always tell people, try to, get those habits together then. And so then that way, you won't experience some of the challenges that we're talking about. If you can get that stuff straight there, then you'll be fine out here. And I'll admit, like, because I was an entrepreneur. I was working and doing this for like 10 years before I went solo, so I had the time to build up the habits and figure out how to manage my time and know what's the most productive time of my day. I built the platforms before I came out. So when I came out, I had bigger platform, so, I was able to, just to do it that way. So everybody, and then here's the other thing. And I mean, they just talked about fitness, but not to go there, I would say, if you're doing something good in one part of your life, try to actually put it in other parts of your life. It's like not cut it off to do it over here. No, do it in other parts of your life. So like if you have your fitness in order, hopefully that means your eating is in order. If your eating is in order, that means that your house is clean. If your house is clean, that means your mind is focused. If you understand what I'm saying? You see, and I think that's another thing to talk about.
It's a trickle down effect.
Yeah, they have a clean environment usually. They don't have a dirty environment, because whatever's going on in your environment is going on in your head or going on in your body. So.
You just made me want to go clean my apartment.
What you got, Gamal?
All right. So, what I wanted to hit on was, I forgot what the name of it. I was trying to Google it, right? There's like 4 quadrants of like, it's called the cash flow quadrant. You guys familiar with that?
From the same guy that did Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's where I got it from.
Right now, the cash flow quadrants is something that a lot of MLMs use for sales, right? But it is actually a very good quadrant to understand, right? In the quadrant, you have the employee, then you have the self-employed, a person that's self-employed, then you got the business owner, and then you have the investor, right? An employee, we all know what that is. Someone that is self-employed is someone who thinks they have a business. This could be a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And I think some of the things that we're coming from the place of someone who are people who are self-employed, right? Meaning that we have to work in order for our business to do stuff. We don't have any employees. Like, we have to do things. So we're coming from that place. And I think in that place, entrepreneurship is extremely tough. Now, the business owner has the vision. They done figured it out. They've written it out. They scaled it. And other people are actually running the business, right? An investor, money work for them. They just take their money, they invest it, and they kind of get money back. So that's a thing that we have to understand. Like, where are you in that particular quadrant, right? And there's really no difference. It's not too much of a difference between an employee and someone who is self-employed. You're just kind of doing it for yourself. So you really got to get into that process of the business owner mindset. So I think a lot of us, we kind of miss that business owner standpoint, and we don't really look at what's in front of us, right? So we have all these corporations in front of us. We have corporations we work for, and we don't take the nuggets in front of them. Like, you'll see some of us will start entrepreneurship and we'll blast our faces everywhere. Like, oh, this is my company as the CEO, and you're just promoting yourself, all right? Like, the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies, they're not doing that. Not one bit. They're promoting the brand, not themselves, right? So it's a lot of things that was really in front of us and we're just completely missing altogether. So don't really study yourself and what you're doing and what you're not doing. Start looking at the corporations and like, man, okay, if I was to have to start a business that's probably going to be around for 100 years, if I wanted to get into the, if I wanted my company to be public, what actions do I have to take? All right. That you will probably be more successful adopting that mindset instead of thinking, oh, what I got a lot to do and what's next. This is stressful. And my next journey of entrepreneurship for me is like, okay, I need to scale. Like, I need employees. And I need a manager. I need human resources. I just need to cut the check.
You and I are going to talk after the show, Gamal.
I just want to be the investor. That's me. I just want to be the investor.
You know, but I think there's some positive about what you all said. The only way you can be one of those things is you have to have experience with all of those things. You know, and I think that's what a lot of people sometimes also, you know, that's the mistake. You know, it's like you said, you know, I just want to cut the check. That means you got to know how to manage your check. You got to know how to manage the money. Yeah. You got to know how to do things on time. You got to know how to maintain relationships, establish trust, make sure that people know that you're going to pay. And then once you have the plethora, you know, where you have the overflow and you have the habits and you have the person working for you and they know what they're doing because the thing's been clearly defined. See, all of that stuff goes in. Then all I got to do is get the check because I don't have to deal with HR. I don't have to have conversations about conflict. I don't have to deal with none of that stuff because I have built myself in that space because I've done all of these other things efficiently to get to this point. And I think that a lot of people, you know, I remember I should say, I just want to facilitate. That means I just get to stand in front of people, have, you know, do 30 minutes to an hour and then be done and walk away. And I remember last year I spoke to a group of like 100 students, you know, and I said, how many of you, I titled it, I said, let me show you how to make $5,000 in 30 minutes. And then when I came on, I was like, how many of you just wanted to find out how to make $5,000? That, you know, of course, they all just like, and I was like, yeah. I said, you never wanted to know what to do with the 30 minutes, though. I said, how you get to 30 minutes? And I was like, no one really makes $5,000 in 30 minutes unless they have at least 5,000 hours probably working on something to get it where it needs to be, to where someone will pay you that just for you to breathe on them, you know. And they were like, and I was like, yeah, it's not just simply like I got something to say and someone wants to listen. So, I mean, I like that because I think that that's what people who, when they get to that point, like they can explain it. And then if someone wants to know how you do it, you can tell them this is what you do. And that's what you do. I'm going back over here to cut the check. Thank you.
Yeah. And I like I said, I don't put myself as an entrepreneur. I'm self-employed. I am not I'm investing now to get into this entrepreneurship for what I love to do as far as garments and stuff. But I'm self-employed. Those are two different things. That's what people don't understand. Those are two different things.
Thank you.
I am not an entrepreneur.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I do think there's a group of people who, good or bad or indifferent, kind of get off on just, you know, certain labels and stuff like that, you know. I think it is what it is. I kind of got something for y'all up here. Kind of a question, comment. With entrepreneurship, being self-employed, whatever it is, how do you know when you've been doing something too long? Like, you know, people are like, you know, I'm investing, I'm doing it. I've been doing it for a year, I'm not seeing anything. I'm doing it for 2 years, I'm not seeing anything. 3 years, I'm not seeing anything. What is going on? I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm getting the information. At least I think I am. You know what I mean? I'm 3 years into 4 years into it, and it's still not paying off. I'm 50 years old right now. At what point do people stop and say, hey, you know what, dude, you just need to go get a job? You know what I mean? Or either you need to cut your losses and go to something else. You know, when, you know, and I know it's very different probably for everybody, but in general, what maybe are some keys to know when you should throw in the towel, or should you at all? You know, and I know that's a whole lot right there, but I think sometimes we have those transition points and we have those times and we just want to throw it by hands, and they're for a whole bunch of different reasons. But how do you know, or what are some signs when you're like, look, I know, like, if you're a consultant and you like Gamal, like if Gamal is a consultant for, you know, XYZ maintenance or whatever, auto body, whatever like that, he's been doing auto body for 20, 30 years. He probably can tell when somebody come in there if they're going to be good at it or not, if they're wasting their time. You know what I mean? Because he has that eye for it. But if for somebody who's been doing something brand new or for a couple of years, we don't have that eye. We don't know when it's time to shift or when it's time to stop, or when we have to, like, all right, cut my loss and go do something else. So what are just, you know, anybody thoughts on that when it comes to, you know, one, not necessarily one to quit, but when is it time?
Okay. I think if you're not enjoying the journey, that's when it's probably time to do something else. Because if you're not enjoying the journey, that means you might be pursuing the wrong goals. So I think that people need to figure out what the goals and aspirations are. And if the goals and aspirations aren't meeting for you to get to the goal, you're not going to be happy. So that's the first one that I would say is, are you enjoying the journey?
It's a gut feeling. You have a feeling in your gut where you know what you are doing is not in line. And you said this earlier. You said this at the beginning of the show. You have a gut feeling when you know that what you are doing is not in line with your purpose. And it's a chore instead of an actual process to get from point A to point B. You understand what I'm saying? When it's not about what you know you should be doing, and you're just doing it because it's a good idea at the time, or you're doing it because that's the wave. You understand what I'm saying? But you know in your gut, man, I shouldn't be doing this. Or your gut is telling you, yeah, you're doing this, and you might even actually be good at it, but you are better off doing that, but you don't listen to it. That's when the transition phase happens. You understand what I'm saying? But asking that question is kind of difficult. That's why you have 50-year-old rappers out here. They don't know when to quit. You understand what I'm saying? So it's difficult. But on the flip side of that, a lot of us as men, we have an ego. And it's like if we do something and we quit, we feel like a failure. And then that trickles down into everything else. So it varies. But I would say, just like women have a quote unquote intuition, we have a feeling in our gut that's valid that we need to really, really start listening to. You understand what I'm saying? That's where I would start.
I would take. I'm going to take this approach because I'm not even going to make it complicated. First, you have a job that's paying your bills. Then you have a product. If you're 2-3 years into your product, right? You did all the research on your product. Find out how many competitors out there. Find out how your product is different from the product that's already out there that you think you've bettered, right? You have the product, but you're working full time, paying your bills. If your product is not making you money, you have a shitty product. It's not making you money. And the money that it does make you, if it doesn't pay along, if you divide that money you made and for the time you started and it's down to pennies, dollars, and cents, it's a shit product. That means nobody's buying it. So common sense, either you change the product or you can continue beating a dead horse because it's not making you money. It will never make you money because it hasn't made you money. You have nothing to go on to tell you it's a good product. So you have to look at it from a business sense and say, well, how long am I going to keep investing the money that I'm losing into this product that's a shitty product?
That part right there, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know right now. How long do I keep investing in my shitty product?
Easily. If it doesn't sell anything within a year, it's a shitty product. It's a year. That's 12 months that you've invested your money. I don't care what anybody says. You can draw. I can draw something. I can be a great, well, I'm the best at what I do. But besides me, you can have a great, I can have a great artist. If I'm not in a gallery and no one's buying my prints, no one wants my work, I've tried to sell it myself. Bro, unfortunately, call it quits. You don't have what it takes. I'm not one to give up on people's dreams, but if you've exhausted the resources, it's time to either look into somebody that could sell it for you and pay them, and they'll tell you, or you have to realize it's not a good product. Switch into something.
You've exhausted.
Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for clearing that up, because he said something. He said, if you've exhausted all of your resources, meaning you've taken all of the steps to get this product out there. You understand what I'm saying? I can understand where he's coming from.
Yes, but here I want to add to that, though. You only know what you know. If you're only a year in or 2 years in, you don't know. So you don't know if you've exhausted all of your means yet. And that's where I'm trying to get to. How do you know when you've exhausted all your means, or when every stone has been unturned? Because the thing that I've been learning in entrepreneur is once you overturn one stone, you got to understand, you got to unflip 3 or 4 more, because there's more and more stuff you got to know. So,
listen, you're beating a dead horse. You're trying to make something that's nothing.
How long did you do your art before you started making a return?
The product has told you within a year to 2 years. Okay, you take the money you've made in those 2 years off of whatever you sold, you divide it by the months of how many times it's been on the market. That's how much it's bringing you. That's a dead product.
All right. So how long did it take for you to return to pull a profit from your paintings?
Okay.
How many years? From bang the bullets, how long did it take?
I had a full-time job while I was drawing on the side. I got discovered on the side as a full-time job. I got discovered with my portfolio. Got a manager. The manager started saying, hey, your work is selling. Great, let's keep it going.
But how much time when you started drawing and you had this vision that you wanted to be an artist before you actually got a paycheck?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. My product.
You've only been drawing for a year?
My art was always there, but my art got known after 1 year. He realized that your work is selling within that year. 12 months is a long time. 2 years.
But see, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So, when do you, and you all answer this question, right? So there's so many different things. No one's right, no one's wrong, right? You got Colonel Sanders' story. I heard that story. He was like 40 years old when he was working on KFC. He didn't become a millionaire until he was 60 years old. And he actually went bankrupt throughout that time period before he became a millionaire. So 20 years for him to give us this chicken that we still have out here. It is way past his time, right? So when you're doubt, I wrote this down because I was thinking about this, because a lot of this, like, Antoine, there's some things you said that in theory most people would agree with, but if you have a good belief system like I do, I would disagree with you. So I would say this: if you're out of alignment and you feel it, then it's probably time to let it go. If your doubt is greater than the momentum you have in your business, it's time to let it go. You got to work on other things outside of your business, right? Because your belief system is super important. I mean, there's people out here, like, I love sales, I love business. Like, there were people out here that were selling rocks, pet rocks to people, and they made millions of dollars, right? We can argue that that is a crappy product, but the belief that the person had that these rocks were had this special power that can help families and heal, and kids can use this rock and walk with it, right? Like they sold the belief and they made millions of dollars.
But again, did you do the research on how many rocks is out there?
Exactly. So you can do the same thing for any. It's all about your belief.
No, that's the La La Land shit. I don't understand
Look at so many people in history. Look at, all right, for example, I don't even want to talk about this guy. But look at his story. Like his belief was through the roof before he actually blew up.
What? Who are you talking about?
I was talking about like Kanye West as like before he blew up. Nobody knew who he was. He was just someone that was producing, right? But he had a belief that was kind of delusional to some people that he can rap. And he eventually became one of the biggest rappers.
Well, first of all, I don't think Kanye is a good rapper. I think he's a good writer, and I think he's a good producer, and I think he's a good creatively. He's a genius, but I don't think he's a good verbally rapper.
Right, but after a year,
right,
he went out and produced music, right? So what I'm saying is that belief is part of the equation. If you're just doing something like just doing it because everybody else is doing it, somebody said that already, right? Then yeah, it may not work. But if you believe wholeheartedly that what you have is going to work and you're confident about it, you could really achieve great success from your belief.
Yes,
strong year over year.
Great, I love it. But if nobody's buying it, nobody is falling into it, you have to be realistic. You're not that good. You have
Antoine, can I ask you a question?
Not that good. As great as
I ask you a serious question,
I
Antoine?
Yeah.
Antoine, can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
You said you worked a full-time job and then you got discovered, right?
Right.
Your full-time job was in art, correct?
Yeah.
You were drawing. You love to draw, right?
Right.
Now, if you did not get discovered, would you still be working that full-time job drawing?
Absolutely. Yep.
I think that's the point. The point is you are doing what you love and you know that you are good at what you love. And 10 times out of 10, if you believe you are that good, you even said it, that you are the best in your industry. If you believe that you are the best in your industry, somebody is going to pick you up. And it took you 12 months for somebody to pick you up. Just like what Gamal said about Kanye. I actually saw his documentary. He was DJing out of his basement using cassette tapes, and then somebody from Def Jam picked him up. You would have still been doing that even though nobody picked you up. You would have still been drawing full-time for somebody else if nobody picked you up and you didn't hire that marketer to actually put your stuff out there because you knew you were that good. What everybody is saying is when you lose that belief that you are not good enough to get picked up because you are doing something that isn't aligned with what you should be doing, that is when you should stop. I do not believe that you can put a time period on that. I truly don't.
Okay, then become broke. Because if you're going to rely on that, you are going to become broke because that's La La Land. Because the only reason the guy said, give me 1 year and I'll sell some of your work. If it didn't happen in that year, I ain't quitting my job. Period. Now, Kanye,
you just agree with me. We just agree with me and not you just agree with me and disagree with me at the same time. It's not about being broke. You are still in the industry that you love. You are still doing what you love. And you are never going to stop doing what you loved. You are going to find a way to make it work because you believed in it enough. That is legitimately what you just said you did.
I told
you had a program. You were employed. You did this thing because you love to do it. And then somebody picked you up and now you are doing it for yourself.
No, it didn't work that way. I keep telling you.
That's basically what you said.
I keep telling you. I keep saying it and I'll say it again. I had odd jobs.
Go ahead and agree with me.
I had odd jobs drawing what I wanted to draw. Then I got into my art company and it was great. And then I wanted to be a full-time artist doing this, not within a company, my own illustration stuff, right? But listen to me. The guy said, I could sell your work. Give me a year to make it happen. If he didn't sell my work, I'd still be drawing or doing odd jobs. But I was not going to rely on art to pay my bills.
Next topic.
I would switch up into something else. I wouldn't tell somebody, listen, give yourself 5 years, give yourself 10 years, believe in your dream. But I would tell them, believe in your dream, but you better get a job to pay your bills.
Yeah, they're still working. No one
Right.
said
No one's saying
don't
anything
quit
about
your
working.
job.
Still working, but then
Nobody
there comes
here
a time,
said quit
there
your
comes a
job
time,
for this.
but there comes a time
Nobody
when you
here said that.
but there comes a time when you have to realize it's just a hobby. It's just a hobby. Your art was just a hobby. It's just a hobby. There comes a time when you have to accept your product is not good. You're not that good of a writer. You're not. And for you can go on forever and make it a hobby and sell once or twice a song here and there. Great. But if it doesn't over time show you that you're not making it, you got to accept it. It's like I tell people in basketball, if you don't get, there's other areas in basketball if you don't have a gift. If you're not that 1%.
And he's giving basketball analogies.
Huh?
No, if it ain't going 5 6, he giving basketball analogies.
Jesus
I know you got to shut it.
Give basketball analogies.
You know what I mean?
The short people sports like track, like me.
I know you got to shut it down soon, but I also think that there's something else. You can have $1 million goal, but success can also be 250,000. And I think that what some people also end up doing is, and this is what social media do, it'll make you think that because you're not living like Jay-Z, that you're not a successful, and I'm with you too, about the whole, 50, but you can be a musician. We only say that in hip hop about being 50 years old and being a rapper. We don't say that in any other genre. So then right there, you can take that genre and do something different, and go make money a different way, So I think that that's the other thing, is that sometimes that goal you have, it may not be that you need to get rid of that goal because the resources are depleted. You might just need to tweak it, So I just want to say that too, so that we don't think that it's like all or nothing, because people figure it out along the way, whether it's a year, whether it's 5 years. Like you said, Colonel Sanders didn't get a millionaire until he was 60. Don't forget McDonald's and the Ray Kroc family. Don't forget the Walmart family. I mean, there's so many stories, and nothing usually happens overnight. And no diss to what you're saying, Antoine, but for a lot of millionaires in particular, 1 year is actually overnight. So it's like, no, you gotta, stay and do things a little bit longer. Like, I mean, I didn't start making money. I didn't start making the black until 3 years later. I've been in business for 13 years, 3 years. And that's while having a job and having a business. I just went out on my own when I realized that no one else was going to hire me to have these other positions, but I also did it when I had 140,000 already coming in. So it was like, do the math. Is doing this job costing me more money? And I think that's when it's time to go and do. I think that's the other thing that you should ask Garfield. When do you know it's time to go and start a business? Maybe the thing you're doing on the side is exceeding the thing that you're getting paid for. That's when I did it. I was like, wait a minute, I'm losing money working. Hold up. Now it's time to go.
Man.
Hey, God will let you know too.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, it's been a lot of great points said here tonight, but real quick, if everybody willing to stay around for an extra couple of minutes, I know Chris said he had to jump off, so I want to go around the horn real quick and do some final thoughts or some pack wisdom. I'm gonna start off with Chris, and then after Chris, we're gonna do Dr. Easley, Antoine, and then Gamal. You guys okay with that? And I understand, Chris, if you got to roll up after your final thoughts, I totally understand it, man.
This whole conversation was about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Do not think you need to be an entrepreneur to be successful. If you are going to dive into entrepreneurship, understand that it is not as easy as social media and mainstream media portrays. There is work involved. There's a belief system that you have to have, but you also have to have a steady income coming in while you are going into entrepreneurship. So that way you have something to quote unquote fall back on, for lack of a better term. Dr. Easley said it earlier. Sometimes it is all or nothing, but sometimes it isn't all. And a lot of times it isn't all or nothing. And sometimes you can keep doing what you're getting paid to do until it's time for you to do what you want to get paid to do. So just understand the difference. Understand the difference and understand what best fits you. That's my final thought.
Discipline creates freedom, and freedom is not having the need to want to be free. And so, if you don't have any discipline, then you're not going to achieve the goals, in particular the way that you set out. Okay, and if you don't have any discipline, you can't adjust when things don't work out the way that you want to, and that happens a lot in entrepreneurship, which is why planning ahead is very important. Being patient with yourself, but holding yourself to tight goals so that you don't let yourself off of the hook, okay, and miss your blessing and miss the opportunity. That's it.
You muted, Antoine.
I would say be realistic in your beliefs. Okay, be realistic in the product that you want to put on the market if you're an entrepreneur. And there's a difference between being an entrepreneur and self-employed. All right, and always have a full-time job, no matter what side you're going on, to pay the bills so you can pursue your goals and your dreams. Now, another thing I want to say is be realistic in your approach. Do the research. Don't be lazy. Do the research in what you are marketing or what you are selling or what you want people to buy. Yes, you can do all the praying and la la land you want to, but life will tell you otherwise. And when the time comes to make a solid decision and you have to make that sacrifice, how much of that sacrifice are you willing to make for what you want to sell or what you want to produce? That's all I'm saying. I like to believe I'm the best at what I do, and I think you should believe you're the best at what you do. But I did my research and I let my work speak for itself to tell me there's a place for me in this market. And if there was no place for me in this market, then I would say, okay, obviously I'm not good enough to be here, so I'm going to excel here. So I'm going to go up with that company and keep moving up, learn, and as far as I can get. But this over here that I thought I was so good at, I'm going to make it into a little hobby. Because there comes a time when you have to pick and choose. You have to. Now, does that mean you're giving up on your dreams? No, you're still going to pursue your dreams. You're just not going to make it part of your life. That's all I'm saying.
All right, family. Thank you for having me on. As we discuss the myths of our entrepreneurship, we can all agree that entrepreneurship is not easy, but bringing your visions to life can be rewarding. That is your God-given gift, and there's nothing more beautiful than being able to exercise your God-given gift to create. And all of us inside of us, we do have an internal success formula. Maybe you had your success in sports. Maybe it was in your 9 to 5 or a particular project you were working on. Whatever that thing that you did that you were successful in, if you can unpack it by looking at the actions you took, the environment, the support that you had, be able to really write down that recipe and apply it to the entrepreneurship or business that you want, I believe you can see success. So a couple of tips I have for everyone is build a team, network, continue to grow, and find mentorship, and make sure you're always in alignment. Thank you. This has been a fun conversation.
Entrepreneurship, as other people have mentioned, is not easy and it's not for everyone. It is a journey, and you have to be willing to deal with and accept everything that comes along with that journey. You're going to have discipline. You're going to have motivation. You're going to want to quit. You're going to want to give up. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have great moments. You're going to have horrible moments. And you're going to have everything in between. And that is just something that comes along with it. Everybody, like someone said, is not necessarily made for it. And it's okay if you're not made for it. But if you are, or you think you're made for it, then go out there and at least test the waters. Go out there and see what entrepreneurship is like. See how much work it is. Do something in entrepreneurial in the spaces that you enjoy doing, and that can possibly bring you success like Antoine did. Antoine is an artist. He likes to art. He moved into a space that he gets to do what he loves to do and still make money and be successful at it. So you've all heard a whole bunch of different things about the untold truth about entrepreneurship, and that's my final thought. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody who was here tonight. I appreciate everybody who's watching on the replay and all of those different things. And we will be back again next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about well-rounded success. You know, we can talk about insights into love, into fitness, into social, and our personal lives right there. So tune in next week, 7 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time on the Unkle Junior Network. And until next time, gentlemen, appreciate y'all for being here, and we are out.